Welcome, beautiful soul, to this podcast. In every single episode, we try and pack some inspiration, some practical tips, and some ideas for you to really thrive as an empath, highly sensitive person, and sensitive soul, to make the most of our beautiful energy and our qualities, as well as to face challenges that real life brings us. So I invite you to hold space for yourself. Get really comfortable. Bring your journal, your favorite cup of herbal tea, and let's begin. Welcome, beautiful soul. In this episode, we're going to explore something that not many people talk about when it comes to connecting with the moon and connecting to our self-care and self-love. And I say this because there are plenty of workshops and classes, especially if you go to a yoga studio, celebrating the different phases of the moon, like the new moon rituals and the full moon rituals. But we don't often hear how we can tap into our own unique moon. So this is what this episode is all about. And actually, it might explain why some self-care tools work better for others than it does for you. When I talk to my clients, the feedback that I normally get is that there's always this thing that they feel like they should be meditating a certain way, or they should be doing a certain type of yoga pose, or they should be following a certain diet. And they try it, and they realize it's just not for them, and they feel frustrated, and I've been there, so I can also say I have felt plenty of times a lot of frustration when it comes to the things I should, quote unquote, should do, and then finding out it doesn't work. And the moon actually is one of those tools that we can use to really tune in and focus on things that actually do work for us, and avoid some of those things that, we keep trying to do and it just doesn't work. So we're working with our own unique cycle. We're honoring our own unique energy with the moon. So what is the moon energy? Let's just go back to basics, the real foundation of what that lunar energy is. It is about the feminine energies. And we all have masculine and feminine energy. So every single one of us works in different ways and unique ways of navigating our masculine and our feminine energy. Now, the feminine energy, especially with the moon, is more to do with our internal world. So it's the part of us that is more personal. It's the part of us that's connected to our deep emotions, to the triggers that happen within us, to all the things that maybe a lot of people don't see unless they know you very well. It also works with different flows, like our moods, for example, and how we channel our emotions, emotions being energy in motion. The moon also symbolizes nurturing. So how do we feel nurtured? How do we feel safe? How do we feel at home within ourselves? And also how we work with that feminine energy of creativity, attracting versus doing, actually being versus doing, but, magnetizing things towards us. And I would actually say, with law of attraction, a lot of that energy comes from that lunar sense of attracting things towards you by being who you are, by being yourself, by nurturing yourself, by being in that feminine flow, versus the masculine energy of doing, activating, initiating, which in some cases can be amazing in certain situations. But understanding the difference between the masculine and feminine can really help us understand our self-care. And the moon is where we can zone in to our ways of taking care of ourselves, the ways of how we feel nurtured, the ways that we can hold space for that to happen. Now, all of us have a natal chart. You can easily find your free astrology natal chart online. And one of the first things that comes up is the ascendant, the moon, and the sun. Most people know their sun sign, but you can easily find out what your moon sign is. And that's actually the first tip I want to give to you that not many people realize is very important. If you know your moon sign, you can also find out the element. You can find out the qualities of the sign, and you can also find out the element that it is. And by knowing that, you can find or think about or brainstorm ways that you can bring in those qualities of that sign, of that element, into your self-care practice. I'll give you an example. Let's say somebody has their moon in Cancer, and that Cancer energy is, well, it is very much about the moon. It is about all the feminine qualities I just spoke about. But at the same time, it's a water element. It's a deep water element. So a lot of the self-care rituals would be maybe something related to water, swimming, having a hot bath, working with rituals related to cleansing through water or fasting, or just bringing in as much of that water element as possible into the self-care tools. It's almost like you're tuning into your moon through that element. So that in itself is very powerful and interesting, because someone who has a fire element is going to have very different qualities, no matter what their sign is and their fire sign is, than a person who has a Cancer water sign. You see what I'm trying to say? Each element will have its own unique qualities. Each sign will also have its own unique qualities. And just by writing down a list of the qualities of the sign that your moon is in, and also the qualities of the element that moon is in, then you can start to, have an idea of what could really work for you. And remember, I'm saying this in a general term because if you look at the natal chart, you will know that there's a lot of information. So I'm going on a very general note that the moon, especially if you tune in to the sign and the element it's in, is one of the biggest indicators of how you can start building self-care tools that work for you. Tip number 2, another thing that I never hear from yoga teachers or many people actually, is that, did you know every single month you have a unique monthly moon day? So this is when the cycle of the moon on a collective level is connecting to that part of your own natal chart, that natal moon's chart that you have, that natal moon sign. So it's almost like it clicks right back into that part of your chart. Now, with that being said, that is a powerful day where you can do a lot of your self-care rituals. I know a lot of times people focus on the new moon ceremonies on a collective level to plant some seeds, to start new projects, etc. But I'm actually going to say, I feel like that monthly moon day is probably like a new moon on steroids. It is the ultimate time to set those intentions. And if you're not sure how to find this, I do have a full course on all the things that I'm talking about today, plus many other ways that you can connect with the moon to enjoy self-care. And I also have, at the moment, part 1 as a free webinar, so you can watch it for yourself. All this information will be in the description box, so feel free to have a look. Tip number 3 is your dominant element. So again, you can find this online. What is the dominant element of your natal chart? And I feel like the dominant element is almost like the container of the energy of your moon, because it's a signature element of your whole chart. So it's almost like the container that your moon energy and a lot of the other energies in your chart is contained in, and is very much connected to. So if you know your dominant element, and then on top of that you know the sign of your moon and the element of the sign of your moon, you can start plotting using again a lot of the qualities together and finding self-care tools that work for you. Let's get into some real examples so you know what I'm talking about. I'll give you my own personal example. I have a moon in Aries. Aries, the qualities, it is a masculine energy, so it likes to initiate and do all of those masculine energy things. So it is a very active energy. Aries is definitely an active energy. It's also a fire sign. So all those meditations where I had to sit still and be quiet and, physically stay still, I really struggled with it. Even throughout my yoga teacher training, I would try these meditations where I would just have to be completely still, and it felt like agony. I'm telling you, it really felt like agony, to the point I was wondering if I was doing something wrong or not. And then when I found this out, I realized that my moon in Aries with a fire sign means that I have to be using up a lot of my energy. I have to be that fire energy. I have to find ways to channel that energy outwards instead of being still and focusing inwards. So self-care for me at the moment is actually very active. It's going out for a brisk walk, it's going out for a jog, it's going out to nature, or doing projects or something where I can channel my energy into it. And it involves a lot of heat because of that fire energy. So I like to do things that will literally heat me up, like heat my body up and make me sweat and make me feel my heart, race, and makes me feel really grounded with that kind of fire side of myself. And then afterwards, I feel really good because that fire energy is very quick and fast, and it likes to just initiate very quickly. So I like things that are very short, sweet, and uses up a lot of energy that I can channel outwards. And does that sound like meditation? Well, there are plenty of active meditations where you can dance your way through meditation, where you can do movements throughout meditation. If I had to meditate, that would be my style, so it would be more movement meditation. So you can see from my own personal example that this is what really changed it for me, and I've seen this with clients time and time again. Now, if you know your dominant element and it happens to be very different from your moon sign and your moon element, you can combine the two together. For example, if someone like myself has a fire moon, but their dominant element happens to be water, you can see the energy is very, very different, but you can use that heat and that water together. So, for example, having a very heated bath or going to the sauna or something related to heat and water works really, really well. So those are just some very simple examples how you can work with that lunar energy to find those self-care tools that are very specific to you. I hope that's inspired you to look at things in a much more interesting way when it comes to the moon. As I said, I've seen a lot of workshops to do with the new moon and the full moon, which is great, but there's so many different layers behind it, and I encourage you to go out and look for more information on how to work with that lunar energy, because ultimately that's the side of us where, if we are going through self-care, where we are exploring ourselves on a deeper level, we want to feel like we can hold space fully for ourselves to do so, coming from a place where it's internal first and then external second. So in other words, you are holding space for yourself to explore, and these self-care tools are there for you, especially when it comes to the moon energy, to create that space for you to explore. And if you are interested, as I said, I do have a full course on this, and I have at the moment the free webinar, which is part 1. It goes into much more detail when it comes to signs. And have a look at the link in the description if that's something that you feel called to do. So thank you so much again for taking time with me today to listen, to tune in, taking a moment just to give a lot of gratitude to you for being here And I will be back soon with another episode exploring some more beautiful holistic tips on our empath journey. Take care of yourself. Have a beautiful day.